Okay, this is going to be a video of my KC Daylighter off-road light installation. These are the long range lights, 130 watt I think. Got them from Quadratech. And this is just some details you can look at, maybe help you with your own installation. First off, the most important part is get your wires routed to where they're not going to chafe or rub, because the last thing you're going to want is a fire. And these are run right off the battery, and it could definitely cause a fire. So you'll make sure everything's secure and wrapped in some fashion as to prevent rubbing. I ran mine along the back side of the firewall, and you could put loom all the way down the whole length of these wires if you wanted to. I didn't have any at that time, so I just bundled them up and secured them with zip ties. This is my switch location, and all the wires from under the hood are routed back behind this panel right here, and it gives easy access to the switch if you ever have to replace it or if you ever need to check connections. The lights themselves are pretty straightforward to mount them. You got your KC light bracket that mounts directly to these two bolts here and here, and then it's just a matter of installing the light to the bracket and running your wires into the cowl right here. I'm going to get a screwdriver right quick and show you the wires in the dash right there. It's just a matter of popping this panel out with a small screwdriver. And there's the wiring. I secured it to the frame of the dash with zip ties. And right there you can see the switch. And I used a step bit to drill this hole into the plastic of the dash panel, and just make sure you get it the correct size and your switch will fit real snug. Just make sure you secure everything where it doesn't rub or chafe. You don't want it flopping around. And if you look back up in there, you should be able to see that foam. That foam seals a hole that goes all the way through to where my wiring was run for my switch. And if you can see that bigger hole, that's where you need to go. You can poke in the foam all you want to, but you'll dead end at sheet metal, so you have to get it in just the right spot. And you can see the foam right there where it goes into that hole. And it's actually, if you're looking at that hole, the upper left hand section of that hole is where you want to aim for, and go it's just slightly an angle back toward the right front of the Jeep. Get your wires through. And I also ran the ground wire from the switch back up to this grounding post that is right here. It's a factory ground. And on the opposite side for the relay, there's another factory ground right by the totally integrated power block, whatever they want to call it. I mounted my relay with a zip tie here, and you want to make sure it's pointed down where you don't get any water intrusion per the instructions. And I left my fuses, both of them, up on top here so that they're accessible if I need to get to them. And this side right here was a little tricky. Both lights, the wiring from both lights runs to your relay, and so what you want to do to get the passenger side light wiring neat and out of the way is run it on this channel right here and go all the way back, and then it opens up and you can cross back over to get it up in there. And anywhere where the wire was loose and where it crosses in front of this bracket for the cowl, I put a plastic wire loom on there to keep it from chafing. And the excess I just tuck back up in here. I used electrical tape here, piece of loom there where this goes near the positive post. And I made sure that everything was tight enough where I didn't have to worry about it flopping around and rubbing. You can elevate it enough and then secure it with zip ties to keep it up out of the way. Now the instructions said to straight wire, or to wire the relay straight off the battery, and that's what I did. And there's really, unless you wanted to, a need to find a 12-volt switch source. You could potentially leave the lights on and run your battery down, but if you can't miss those lights being on, then you probably don't need to be driving. You probably need real thick glasses. And so that's the way I ran mine. I've also seen other videos that tell you to take this wire from the light and push it up under the where the cowl panel goes on, but I wouldn't put any wires between two pieces of metal. There's too much potential for it to chafe and cause a short or worse. So I made a grommet out of a tire valve stem and stuck the conduit from the light into that, and I had a hole drilled out the correct size. Again with a step bit, and I couldn't tell you exactly what the size is. I eyeballed it, but the grommet pops in there and fits real snug, so you could do the same thing. The tire valve stem, I bought two sizes after I decided that would be a good way to go for a grommet, and I used some needle nose pliers to pull the brass out of the rubber stem itself, and it's pretty difficult to get out, but it's doable. Just stay at it and try not to rip the rubber. But you're going to need to pull your wipers up, which is easy, and take these bolts here off on either side to get your cowl up. It gives you a lot more room to work. And I just measured about an inch over from this rearmost bolt or screw and drilled my holes after I centered them for my grommets. And again on this side I ran the wiring back up on this channel and then over to keep them out of the way. Don't run them up over the hood right here. It'd be tempting to do that, but the hood does press down on this pretty hard, so on the weather seal, so it's gonna smash your wires. Do it on the sides, take your time and get them ran correctly. And this really isn't the neatest install in the world, because after I ran my wires this far, I realized that I should have went under this washer fluid tube, and instead of pulling all that loose, I just drooped it around and secured it on this side. Again, there's a switch installation, there's your hole that you need to pass your wires through. And what I did, I had an old radio antenna, and I went through the foam with that and taped my wires to it one at a time. I tried two at a time, but the foam was gripping it pretty hard and it kept tearing loose. But I taped them secure and then pulled them through. And then with my ground wire, I just did it the opposite way because I ran it back. It was a separate wire unto itself. And the KC switch is really doesn't look very heavy duty, but I suppose it's rated for its purpose. It's got a little LED light that comes on whenever the lights are on. And these things are bright. I got them dialed in above the high beams. And for old school tech, they're not LED, but they are really, really bright. And I'd like to have a couple more on top of the windshield, and eventually I will. But I hope that helps you out and gives you some information if you decide to do that yourself. It's not real tricky, but like I said, the biggest pain is getting your wires routed, and it takes a little time. And drilling the cowl out, that took a little time. But there it is. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.